Pablo Amira.
How are you?
What's up, man?
All good. You?
I'm good. I'm good. The disclaimer discussion final boss. Let's go.
Tell me, what are your points?
No, it's been a
What do you want
journey,
to
man.
talk?
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
I first of all, just like letting you know, I'm a huge fan of your work. I think that you do amazing stuff.
Thank
Um, and I know so many people who so deeply respect you as a creator, and you're so prolific. I mean, I feel like every time I have a new idea, you've already published five.
you.
So
Yeah, that happens
I'm not going to
sometimes.
say you're the Jay Sankey of mentalism, but
Yeah, wow. What an honor. I love him.
it's so much. It's so
Yeah, yeah.
no, but it's awesome. Like every time, and your post. I mean the expression of desire to remain sort of artistic and remain um, uh, you know um, what's the word? Meaningful, I guess, is meaningful to a theater kid like myself. So I deeply appreciate that.
Yeah, and
And
that's the
I,
point, right? In order that the disclaimer can be an aesthetic decision,
yes,
right?
yes, exactly, yeah. And I think that is so important as a framework of starting this kind of discussion um, because I don't think you have to. I don't think that doing something like that in your show necessarily makes it a less resonant or artistic experience.
Not at all, not at all. As I just mentioned, maybe it's even more beauty,
Maybe,
right?
maybe that's a
Yeah,
that's a great
maybe,
perspective. Yeah.
maybe because
Well,
I also know that some people mm, don't use disclaimers, but at the end of the show they say, everything that you saw is fake. Good night, right? So
mm,
maybe that's their conception of an artistic expression. Who knows?
yeah,
But
maybe.
from my perspective, is you create this castle, card castle, and then you destroy it, right? So what if I
Mm,
want to believe, right? As
yeah.
an audience, right? Who are you to say that I can't imagine that this can be real, right? So we create realities, but that doesn't mean that there is no a sense of pragmatism in what we do, in all
Mm,
senses of phenomena, right? In mentalism or even in magic, right? A card trick can remind someone that there is awe in the world. Who knows?
for
So
sure. Agreed. Agreed.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I guess the place that I want to begin is the place where I start this with most people, and it's just to see if we even are on common ground with the idea that there is or could be a problem here to solve. And
Yeah.
so let me just go to an extreme example immediately. Uh, well, let's ask a simple question first. Um, if it is the case that if it is the case, I'm not saying it is the case, but if it is the case that my audience is miseducated by my show, if it is the case that they have been lied to on a deep level that's meaningful to them, if it is the case that they might feel betrayed if they figured out that it was not real,
Yeah.
would that be a problem to you?
Yeah. You know, in the position that, in a way, is a responsibility of mine to state the condition of what they experience, right? There is a kind of a moral need of the performer to claim or to be honest, quote unquote. Do you mean like in that sense?
No, I just mean exactly what I said. I don't you don't need what people will tend to do sometimes is to think if I answer that question in a way, whatever way I answer that question is going to lead to other questions. So I need to
Mm,
reframe the question in a way that's more
yeah.
comfortable. But the question's kind of intended to be a little uncomfortable. And I just want the yes or the
Mm,
no before we go into the exploration of why, right?
yeah.
If it were the case that a person were to be miseducated by my show, to the
Yeah.
point where they would
That
feel
that that
betrayed and
yeah,
lied
but
to if they
yeah,
learned the
but
truth.
yeah, but there is a pause in there for me when you said someone will be miseducated by my show, right? So
Yes, yes.
yes, but so is the contrary what we need to do to educate others?
That's an implication of that's something that you're projecting onto the
Mm,
question right now, where
mm,
it will actually distract from the answers. So this is why
mm.
I'm trying to figure out if there's
Yeah,
a
but I need
problem
to.
first.
Yeah,
Because you could just
but
say that no, that wouldn't be a problem to me, and then the
exactly right
conversation would be
because
over.
yeah, but because maybe there is no problem in the sense that I can't be
Yeah.
responsible of what is your interpretation of what I do, or I
So
can't.
is the answer to the question then that no, there is no problem if somebody would feel betrayed for learning the truth about my show?
Shh, what is the truth of your show?
The truth is that you're a magician.
Yeah, and what is the meaning of that?
The meaning of that is that you used worldly, deceptive techniques to achieve the phenomenon that they witnessed,
Mm,
and they don't know how it works, but they don't have an answer either, right? They don't walk away with an answer that they are assuming is the truth,
mm,
like
mm,
something like that I saw a psychic or I saw a detective or something like
yeah,
that, right?
yeah.
What
Now,
they say when they leave the show is, I don't know how that worked,
mm,
versus saying something like, I do know how that worked, I just can't do it.
yeah,
That to me would be them knowing the truth about the show.
yeah. Is if that is your truth, that you are creating an experience using this what you said as deceptions, right? And
Yeah.
you don't want to deceive people, sure. And it's not about just disclaimer, but it's kind of a final comment, right? But
Yeah, it's a lot. When I say disclaimer, I don't mean like a 30-second thing you say in the middle of your show to ruin the experience for the audience. Like that
yeah,
means
right.
something else.
So
Um,
yeah, so because what you said to me that I am a magician, and that means that I use this type of deceptions in order to create this. Do you do you feel that people will go out of your show and said this affects me in a destructive manner?
I don't know the answer to that, and actually, I have intuitions about that, but I will answer those questions absolutely. I just want to know if you can answer mine first.
Hmm.
Because notice
But I
every single time I ask that question, like if you ask me that question, I have a very straightforward answer to it.
yeah.
If you ask me the question of like if you could go back in time and you know have a date with Angelina Jolie from 1998, I wouldn't have to be like, well, did somebody create a time machine, or did somebody? How does time travel work? I would just say yes, right? Because I have a
But
straight.
this is not about Angelina Jolie, right? This is about
No,
something
no.
that is more
This is a
complex,
very
right?
clear
So
hypothetical. Like, let's say that the aggregate of your audience, not your audience, just the
mm,
aggregate of somebody's audience, would
yeah.
walk away from the experience. And I can couch this in something that's a little more personal too, a little more worldly, not straight hypothetical. Let's just ask if, like, in your view, is there anything distasteful about what John Edwards does from
Mm,
Pablo's perspective?
mm.
And I'm not like again, I'm not saying in the air objectively.
Mm.
I'm just saying from Pablo's perspective. Because
Yeah, yeah,
certainly there are people who think that it's not distasteful.
yeah.
But I want to know if you think there's anything wrong with what John Edwards does from your
Mm,
perspective.
mm. Is there anything wrong in claiming something that you can do? Of course not.
Um, so you think John Edwards, there's nothing wrong with what John Edwards does?
I don't care about those people that are trying to convince you that there is a psychic world or that I have a skill to contact your grandmother, right? I don't care about those people because those people are not creating art,
What if he
right?
just, I mean, I don't have a definition for art that excludes John Edwards from doing it, but I assume
Yeah,
that
but
there's
that's a
something that he could do.
demonstration, that's channeling, that's an event that someone wants to experience, right? So
Is I'm
why?
sorry, I'm trying to get a straight answer to any question that I'm asking. And it's okay to give explanations for those answers. But
Mm.
is the answer that you're giving me that yes, there is something wrong with what he does
No,
from your
no,
perspective?
no.
Okay, so
It's
it's
not even a
no.
yes, but there is
If
some
there's not
questions.
something
Can
wrong, then there
Yeah,
must
but
be not something wrong, right?
yeah, that there no. There are some questions that are not closed questions. They're yes or no. I want to go with Angelina Jolie. Yes, that's a closed question. But this is an open question, right? What is wrong in the sense of someone wants to have the fantasy that their grandmother is saying, I love you and I remember you?
Mm. Yeah, people have that perspective. If you have that perspective, then I don't think there's much to talk about. Like
No.
if you're okay, like if Sylvia Brown goes on television and says like, "Oh, the body's next to water" or something like that, and she's talking to parents who a child is kidnapped and the child was still alive in this case, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
that's a lie.
unfortunately for
That's a
Sylvia.
lie.
Yeah,
That's a
I
lie,
think what John Edwards is
right?
doing is a lie, and I think what we're
Mm,
doing are lies.
mm,
And so they might hit us in different ways because they're different degrees of lies. But
mm.
what I'm looking for is a
What do you mean as a degree of lie?
maybe not a degree of lie because lie is kind of binary. I think what I mean is maybe a degree of intensity or a degree of caring, and everyone's going to have a
But
different threshold there.
I think that we are going out of the artistic, right?
Sure.
Sylvia Brown, John Edwards, all those people that are creating this kind of demonstration are not creating art. They're not creating something in the sense of offering a beautiful, aesthetic kind of embracing moment, right? But because
I'm not
it
sure
has,
about that, actually. I mean, what John, I don't
they
have
are
it. Like
doing
I said, I don't have
shows.
a definition of art that excludes John Edwards what he does from it. I mean, especially if John Edwards were to, if it were the case, I mean, right now, I believe it's the case that if people walked away from John Edwards' show and then they were told that people walked around in the lobby wearing wires to send information backstage, or
Yeah.
they researched them on credit cards, I think that those people would feel betrayed. But if it were the case that John Edwards somehow made it so that his audience understood that he was deceiving them or understood
Mm,
that this entire thing was happening inside of a bubble where they don't
mm,
have to take any of the baggage with them.
mm,
I think that he would be creating art. I think what
mm,
he does would be quite beautiful. But
mm,
it's the lie that comes with that follows them home that makes it not beautiful for me.
mm.
And
Of
so
course. And for
so
me,
it
it's not
makes it
beautiful either.
so it makes it but he could just as easily say that he does art, and it might be
Mm,
beautiful, on its own. I mean, there are some mentalists who think that that is art. There
yeah.
are some psychic
Yeah.
frauds who probably buy your books, who who think that it's art. And so I don't have a definite. If you want to just say that it's art or not art, that's fine. But I don't actually care whether it's art or not. The
Mm.
question that I want to know, which is sort of wrapped up
So,
in this disclaimer question, because the disclaimer
yeah.
thing is a question of ethics, not of art. And ethics are not real. Ethics and art are, in my mind, two separate categories. But even if, regardless of whether they are or not,
Mm,
I'm interested in knowing if you think that there's anything ethically wrong
mm,
with what John Edwards does.
yeah, that's a very different point because who is the one that is proposing the ethical point of view?
You, in this case,
Yeah, yeah, right. So if
because I'm
you
asking your
said that,
opinion.
yeah, and if you are lying to your group, to your audience, that's obviously unethical. You are lying, right?
Well,
So if you
if
said
that's
to
how you
me,
feel, then is that how
well,
you feel?
yeah, of course, you are lying. That's
Okay.
unethical, right? So it's very interesting with your point of I am a magician, I create deception. For me, that's unethical.
If that is, I don't think what I do is unethical, but I am a magician.
But you are
But I
lying to
do
people.
think what John Edwards does is unethical.
Yeah, and that's another point, right? Who is right, who is wrong? Who cares? For you, you are
Oh,
right. Go for it.
I'm not trying to find an absolute answer to this. I'm trying to know where
Yeah,
you stand. And
yeah,
currently, what I was feeling before is that you didn't think there was anything wrong with what John Edwards did or
no,
does. And what I feel now is that you do think that there's something wrong. But I
no, no,
think that
no.
you
It's
also think you're in that category.
no, 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 not at all. No,
Okay, okay.
I no, no, no. I don't believe myself as psychic or something like that. I don't care about that. What I care is to be honest with my audience. And I don't care about disclaimers because I care about claims. What I'm claiming. I'm not lying to
Hmm.
you when I am saying that I am connecting to you. I don't read minds. I connect with people and I do it,
Yeah.
right?
Do you think that an audience after seeing your show is not going to think that you read their mind?
I don't know.
I think you have to stretch the limits of imagination a little bit to think that they don't think that.
And maybe they are also enjoying and they don't care how I did it, right? Maybe it's
Yeah, maybe.
our bias. It's our bias to, because we know how we do it, I focus too much in the doing things. I don't care about doing in the sense of doing as a goal. My doing
Yeah.
has a meaning that goes beyond what I do. Yes, I read minds in a theatrical, mentalistic arena. If you ask me about your grandmother, I can't contact her. And if I say to you that I can't contact her, I am lying. I can't do that. But I can do these things, right? I can bet metal with my mind. I don't need to claim it. What I claim is the mind is powerful. Let's explore the power of connection, of energies, of intuition. And in energy aspect, we are doing this kind of energetic game, right? I don't try to convince anyone with what I do about something that I believe or you believe. I am showing you something that for me is beautiful. You do whatever you want with it, right? That's why I also, with the
Yeah.
first question of miseducate, right? The real teacher understands that the teacher doesn't teach anything. Socrates said that. I can't teach you anything. The only thing that I can do is to allow you to reflect. That's also my point, right? I don't know if this Edward guy or the brown lady has psychic powers. I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows? I don't care. That's my ultimate answer. I don't care. I don't care about people that are outside the art understanding. For example, Hamlet is a lie. Romeo and Juliet is a lie. Your favorite
No.
song is a lie. No, right? Art is not
Well,
defined
no,
by
I think it
proof.
is a lie, but it's a consensual lie.
That's the point, right? We
But I
are
don't think that
entering into a
magic and
fiction,
mentalism,
right?
because it uses deception, it's not consensual.
But it's fictional.
I don't think the audience sees it as fictional.
And if you want, you can start your show saying everything that you will experience in here is a fiction, but it's also real,
Yeah, you can do that.
right?
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to answer
Yeah.
to approach answering the question, but first I'm trying to establish whether there actually is a problem or not. And it seems
For me,
like
there is no problem
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
So
there
just
is
to
an
be clear,
agreement
well, what's the agreement?
that we are creating something in here that is not a representation of what happens out there in terms of phenomena. I
Mm,
can't read your mind every time, everywhere. I can't. I need some conditions. And that's true. I need to write in the paper, you need a playing card, whatever, right?
mm,
So there is a space in which this is real. What is real in what we are doing is the principle of connection, of potential, of synergy, of serendipity, right? Synchronicity, concepts that are real in the sense of pragmatic mysteries. right? Smile as a mystery, the pendulum movement, the idiomotor response, those are genuine mysteries, right? So there is no deception. In my conception of mentalism, there is no deception needed. I need the secret method, yes, but
That's the
that doesn't.
deception part.
That's not a deception. Why is
We're
if we
using deception
understand
in
the
very different ways, I think.
no,
Do
yeah,
they
in
believe
my
that you saw the paper?
sometimes when I ask people, they even don't mention it. He read my mind. He
Yeah,
knew the
yeah.
name of my cousin or whatever, right?
Well,
And
your intention, but to be clear, your intention is to have them not know the method, right?
not even care. Of course, right?
Right.
In my
That's why we
understanding,
hide
there's
it, because that's the deception part.
yeah, but hiding something is not deception. It's a camouflage. There is no. Maybe that's the problem with modern magic that we
If I,
try to
so
understand
wait,
it
if I
as a
cheated
lie,
on my
right?
girlfriend and then I didn't tell her, that would not be deception?
In that case, of course, right? But again, we are
But
working in
hiding
the
something is
artistic.
not deception.
Is showing what you need to see. I need to
Mm.
camouflage my method. If I do the
Yeah.
peak like this, of course, that no one will feel the idea of connection. It's not
Wait,
about
why
thinking
not?
either,
Why won't they
because
feel it?
they know that I saw it.
Well,
So there
because
is
they
a
have to think
logical
that you're
aspect.
psychic.
No, 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 no,
It's the
no, no.
implication, man. I mean, if I'm thinking of something, and if you're really trying to tell me that in your show, the implication is not that you're reading minds or that you have psychic powers or whatever, then I don't know what else there is to talk about because that just seems so straightforwardly obvious to me. And if you're thinking that that's
Yeah,
not
but
the implication,
yeah,
then okay, fine. But I don't know what we're here to. I don't know what
yeah,
there is to
but
talk about anymore.
yeah, no,
That just
no.
seems
There's a lot
totally
of
unreasonable and like you're trying to avoid the obvious.
no, no. I don't think so because you are saying that I am negating the obvious or the implication, but again, it's your point of view. Because,
Yeah, no, I'm asking what
I,
your point of view is, and if you
yeah,
think that your show is not implying some kind of psychic ability or some kind of supernatural or psychic or body language reading or some kind of ability like
yeah,
that
there's a
outside
claim.
of
There's a
peeking
claim.
at
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, of course, of course. There is a
what
claim.
it what is the
There is a
claim?
claim. The claim is that I am here to explore the mysteries of the mind with you.
Yes. But really what we're here to do
No, that's
is
the point. It's not really. That's now, if you are in my audience, you will say that's bullshit. He's lying to me because that's your language, and that's fine. And another person say, "Wow, how cool is that?" Other person is, he's the devil. Other person,
Mm.
oh, he's a holy man. I am not responsible of the implications because the implications is the perception of other. It's all about their universe of the language. We say
I
that
I mean, if I cheated on my girlfriend and then I just said, you
again.
know, I'm not
No,
responsible for what she
you are
thinks.
putting an example that is not valid. It's not about cheating nobody, right?
No,
Because
it is the
again,
same. It's the same. You
no,
said
no,
that you said you're not deceiving people in your show, right? You're not using
no,
deception.
no, it's not the same. I am using methods. I am using the paper, whatever. I am using forcing. I am using techniques.
If the audience learned that you just looked at the piece of paper, that would make the show less effective, right?
Not always, not always, because
So
there, for
why even
example,
hide it?
sometimes you don't need to hide it. You can do Q&A, open Q&A, and there is no one or another. There is still mystery in that same example. For example, with a billet test, let's say that
Oh
someone
yeah, I'm not saying there wouldn't be
catch.
mystery. I mean, the people that are believers will certainly go with you on a Q and A if it's
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not making a claim to mystery. I'm making a claim to deception and
Ah,
miseducation. Like I think there's a lot of mystery. In fact, if you wanted people to experience the mysterious, you would actually want to guarantee that they walked away from the show saying, "I don't know how that worked,"
exactly.
instead of
That's
saying he's a
there.
psychic.
I am a mystery performer. I work for mystery, not for claiming my ego, of having powers that you don't have. That for me is not mentalism.
Well,
And
when somebody,
I can only talk
let's
for
say
my
somebody
experience.
asked you, let's say somebody asked you after the show, they came and said, look, I'm thinking about really studying. Like, let's say, I know this is not this is really hard to imagine, but let's say somebody believed that you were using some kind of psychic ability. I know that you're not implying that. You're not even
That
deceiving
that
people.
that happened to me a lot. That happened to
No,
me a
I
lot.
imagine that it does because you do.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what you're implying when you do this kind of material. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. I'm just it's funny. It's kind of like me talking to Michael Jordan and being like, "Do you play basketball?" And he's like, "Not necessarily." Right? And it's
Because
like
basketball
I
is
don't
not a
know.
mystery performance, right? Mystery
I don't get to decide what people believe about what I do on the court. But anyway,
maybe
so
you
let's
can.
say
Yeah, tell me that.
sorry, I was just thinking, let's say somebody walked up to you afterwards and they said, you know what? I'm so impressed with what you did. I'm so enamored with it. And I love you as a performer and you're so charming. And I want to be able to do what you do. What should I do? What should I study?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Let's talk deeper because I can't talk you in 5 minutes, 2 minutes about this. It's very deep.
Well,
Mentalism
no,
is deep.
they say, listen, I don't have a phone. I just need to go and study something. I'm going to go to the library. What book should I take out to learn that?
Search for Theodore Kahneman.
Okay, good. Okay, at least we're on the same page there, man. We're on the same
Of
page there.
course,
That's
of course,
cool.
of course. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
of course. Yeah. If
Okay.
you have truly desire of learning this art, welcome. This is
Yeah, yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
This is so beautiful. But again, it's not about lying. It's not about saying study the biography of Richard Edwards, right? No, it's not about that. If you like that and if you believe about that, it's your game. I don't care about that. And I can't say if psychic powers are real or not because I don't know. But what I know is this,
Well, you know that
right?
you're not using them, right?
Sometimes I use intuition, and if that is a psychic power, so be it. But I
But
don't know, right? There is a sense of
but
knowing and conscious
there's
knowing
no hold
sometimes,
on.
right?
The people that are asking that people be honest and not be honest about the sort of uh what's happening in a sort of meta sense outside the show. The people who are willing to sort of break character and say to people, "Oh no, you're getting the wrong impression. That was a magic show, but I'm really happy that you had a good time." And all of that was deception. I don't know what the other people do. I started with card tricks, and then I learned how to really make it look like I'm reading your mind. Right? Those people aren't saying that um, that you need to say some 30-second thing or that you need to like take their opinion on. I'm just asking what your opinion is about these things. And so,
Mm.
but it seems it's just kind of the reason I'm shocked at some of it is because it's kind of hard to believe that, but maybe it's just a difference in like next conversation about this we'll do in Spanish, right? Or
Yeah, right. It's about culture. Yeah, because for example, in North America, there is a more pragmatic kind of your idea of there is a yes or no, right? And sometimes it's not like that. At least in my more kind of open, let's say, philosophically European or even Eastern kind of philosophy, sometimes things are simple yes or no, sometimes not. So especially these topics of what is your skill, because as a mystery performer you have a skill. What is your set of skills? You need to meditate for 4 years in the Tibet for mentalist? Not at all. And that's the beauty that we can create something that some people say that they need to be enlightened to do. We can do with hard work in a few months, right?
oh
So
yeah,
it's an
yeah,
art. It's
for
an
sure.
art, right? It's something that can create a metaphor that is so powerful that is even more powerful than the people claiming whatever psychic, whatever. And sometimes, and
It,
there's a lot of charlatans, right? So how can I be a force of good with what I do? It doesn't matter if it's a deception or it's real or genuine. How this can be of service of goodness, right? That's my point at this.
Well, so I guess the ultimate question for me is if it comes down to whether you're trying to do good in the world.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know for a fact that people, like I said, I've said this in conversations about this before, but I don't know for a fact that people who see John Edwards are worse for having seen him.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's not doing good in the world. My intuition is that he is not. And
Yeah.
when I see him lying to people like that, when I know what he's doing and I see him lying, my brain goes, that's gross. I don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And right now we got a bunch of examples of that kind of stuff in the world right now, and
Yeah.
some of it's not so pretty. Uh,
Mm.
the one thing that I was doing, this is my own personal experience, and I don't know if I can just get a yes or no from you on this, but in the needle of belief. Now, everyone's tempted to go, you're not going to change anyone's mind. You're not going to flip somebody from one side to the other. But that's not how I feel like beliefs go. I feel like they go in degrees like this, right? Um, in the where the needle is with every individual person, right? On the aggregate, for instance, I do think that if you're, let's say we're looking at Darren Brown circa 2008 or 2010, right? If somebody sees a Darren show, very beautiful, a lot of meaning in the show, a lot of like very heartfelt, good moments, and one of the best performers in the world. And I have no criticism for Darren Brown as a theater guy, as a performer, but I do think it's reasonable to assume that people who walk out of his show, their needle has been moved in the direction of believing in pseudoscience. And that is something that I think it's reasonable to assume because most people don't like to be lied to. That's something that those people would prefer did not happen.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think that if Darren Brown were able to do something, not necessarily a disclaimer, but something in his show to convince people, or in his whole aura, his ecosystem, to convince people that he was a magician and that what they thought the method was probably not the method, and then just did exactly the same show, psychological stuff and all, and those people were to leave without their belief being phased, I think they would have just as artistic an experience and just as meaningful an experience for having seen his show. So all of the other stuff is aside. That's a totally art and meaning. And I think all of that does not need to be connected at all to people believing in your particular brand of bullshit.
Yeah.
And now my question to you is the tirade that I just went on. Do you agree with that largely?
Yeah, largely, kind of, in the sense that Darren, at the beginning of his career, he was saying that he was using NLP, right?
Yes.
And that's not true, right?
Yeah.
That
No.
was a deceptive approach. So we can say that we know that he's using other methods, he's claiming another thing, right? So what is the gross lie, or the worst lie? Is that the psychic saying that he's contacted the medium, or a psychological illusionist saying that he's only using psychology, right?
Oh,
Both
I
are
think they're both pretty gross, but I think the worst
exactly
one is probably connecting to the dead. For me anyway.
right. Yeah, yeah, of course. Now, pseudoscience, what do you mean by that in the Darren question situation? What is the
Oh,
pseudoscience in Darren?
sorry, say it again.
You said about Darren kind of pseudoscience, that
Oh,
people believe in
pseudoscience.
pseudoscience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
pseudoscience. Yeah.
like, well, just as one quick point for what you're making, because I think that you probably agree with me on this, because I know that you're an experienced performer. But the lies that people tell themselves are way more believable than the lies that you tell
Mm.
them. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think honestly, Darren saying explicitly that he's using NLP or something like that, I think that's probably less convincing than when we catch him using it. So I think
Mm.
if you wanted to start a cult, right, if you wanted to be a
Mm.
really good psychological performer, you'd take the lesson just from when, you're doing a witch hand or something like that. And you say, instead of saying, I'm going to read your body language, you say, and just lift your chin and just think about what hand, there it is, good. And they catch you doing body language
Mm.
reading,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
In,
yeah.
and that, and then, so even without an explicit claim, if you do anything like this,
Mm. Yeah,
just think.
yeah.
Or if you do, they're go. It's actually stronger of a claim than if you don't make
It's
an
an
explicit
indirect one.
claim.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yes, I think it's stronger. I think
yeah,
it's a better piece of immersive theater when they convince themselves that
exactly.
you're psychic.
That's
And
the
I think that's
ultimate
probably
suggestion.
yeah, and that's probably what's happening in I would assume that's what's happening in your show. And I would assume that that's what's happening in other people's shows. But we're talking about this psychological thing. The pseudoscience that I'm talking about is the ability to take something like body language reading and know what someone's PIN
Mm.
code is based
Mm.
on how they're standing or something like that. Like that, I would consider pseudoscientific. That I would consider not possible. And if you have, I know psychology professors who have used Darren Brown's examples in their
Yeah,
school,
yeah.
right? To
I that
teach
happened
people
to me. That
psychology.
happened to me, and
Did
I
it really?
left. Yeah, I left the diploma because they wanted to teach me anchoring in NLP using Darren Brown's video. I said I
And they
can't
were using the
participate.
bike thing?
Yeah, 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 exactly. And I went off that diploma. I didn't want it. He said, I am a mentalist. I know that's not anchoring. So goodbye.
Yeah, I know. I know that you know. I know that you don't
Yes.
know what anchoring is because you're using this
And
video.
and if we go deeper, NLP is what we can call as pseudo or pseudoscience, right? In the sense that
Yes.
doesn't is not robust enough to trespass the scientific method of repetition, all that. So NLP
Yeah.
itself is kind of a showcase.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's got there's something there. It's kind of cool, but it's
Yeah.
mostly just kind
But
of cool, you know?
it's kind of cool because the roots, Virginia
Yeah.
Satir, Milton Erickson, those were the cool
Yes.
people, right? Bandler,
Yes, and
of
Richard
course, is
Bandler, I
fine,
think,
but
too, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Frogs to Princes and stuff.
Yeah, Bandler is fine, but NLP is basically a meta model. So if anyone wants to really study the power of hypnosis, Milton Erickson is the guy.
Yeah,
And
that's the
that
guy,
guy
of
looks
course.
like psychic, right? So that's very
Yes.
weird that he was very real and he can look you and know things that are really subtle, right? So maybe that's psychic powers is being very attentive. It's not
Maybe.
about
I mean, Psych,
being
that show,
something
right?
that
That
you
old
can,
that old show.
right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So my but the question that I think is the most important question with the Darren question is um are people do you think that people's belief is pushed toward pseudoscience having watched Darren perform? Not an individual level, but let's just say you do an audience poll
yeah.
lie detector test on the way in and then on the way
Yeah,
out, you
exactly.
know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, maybe they will be
Yeah.
open to more illusions, but they
Right. Yeah, I would
also,
think actually the way that I say it is that they'll be more vulnerable to the next person who has less good intentions.
yeah, right. And in my way of saying about opening to illusions is also opening to dissolve some other illusions in the sense that, yeah, I take your point of vulnerability. I maybe I will believe the guy next door that he's saying that for $500 he can do a spell. But it can also mean be open to mystery, be open to nature, be open to what is awesome in the world. That also can be motivated by this type of, we can say pseudoscience, right? But also kind of inspiring or right. I went to Darren Brown's show and I love it because I know what he does, right? And I
One of
think
the
that most
best.
people, yeah, and I think that most people that go to there, they understand that they're seeing a show that if there is a deeper implication, it's also my responsibility action to see what is occurring with me, right? Why I am fantasizing that someone can help me to solve my problems in the sense of going to a psychic, right? Or right. So
Maybe. I mean, I would just straightforwardly say that I just don't want to make it easier for people to
yeah,
be frauds. And
yeah.
I
So
want to make it
maybe
harder
that,
for them to do that.
yeah, maybe that's your disclaimer. Be careful of illusions. I will show you a few of them.
Oh no,
right?
yeah, I've got actually I think I have the best disclaimer in magic, but but that's a different topic. When you come out to Vegas next, I'd love to have you at the show.
Of course, of course. Thank you, thank you.
I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. It's quite artistic. And
Nice, nice.
watching Darren Brown's show, right? Being fully aware of the illusion, right? Knowing what you know, do you think that you had a less good experience than the
Not at
person
all.
next to you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Great.
I saw some methods and I don't care. I have that ability to put my performer outside and I am enjoying. I saw something I don't care. That's beautiful. That's inspiring. That's cool. That's a cool image, right? So, yeah, no, no, not at all.
And actually, bear in mind though, the really interesting thing about that, and I feel kind of the same way. The interesting thing about that is that what I'm suggesting is that people just not have a belief about what you're doing. Like what I'm
Mm,
suggesting is that if there is a problem here, then the solution is to somehow now we can't actually like I said, I don't know the solutions yet. I'm doing my best. But if it were the case that you could just make someone say, I don't know how that works, instead of that's body language reading or that's psychic,
mm,
then my claim is that they would have just as good a time. And notice what you just said. You actually know the methods
mm.
and you had just as good a time. I'm not even going that
Yeah,
far, right?
exactly. Yeah.
So
And
you can graft that same feeling onto your show.
yeah,
If they are convinced in your show that you're a magician, that you're not doing
yeah,
anything that is that what you're doing is deception or what you're doing is
yeah,
whatever word you want to call it,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and they end up believing that there's no way that that's a psychic or a
yeah,
body language reader or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I think they will have just as good a time, and I think there will be no risk of them being feeling betrayed.
Exactly, because we are going to the mystery. And for me, magic and
Yes, we're
mentalism
going to
are
mystery. Yeah, yeah.
mystery performance, right? So a mystery means that I am not saying how. It's not psychology, it's not apparent psychic, it's a mystery.
Yeah.
So
This
if
is where it
there
gets
is
a
an
little
implication,
complicated. Yeah. I'm
but
sorry, go ahead, go
but
ahead. If there's
yeah, but
implication, yeah.
yeah, but if there is an implication of what is your implication in sense of what is the point of your implication to what you saw, what you felt? That felt real, it was real because it was felt, right? I don't care
Oh,
about
yeah,
the
well the
logic, right?
feeling was probably real. I mean, it depends.
Exactly.
We'd have to unpack the word real, for
Yeah,
each individual person.
exactly.
But I think to make it to make it to boil it down to the simplest possible form or another way of approaching the same thing. I like the idea that people can enjoy my show, and then if there is a and then for having been to my show, they are less likely to buy tickets to John Edwards. Right? I
Beautiful,
I like
beautiful.
the idea that I make it harder for John Edwards to
Yeah,
sell tickets.
yeah.
And I think that most mentalists especially who are doing the psychic version, and by the way, I know that you do the psychic version. I'm not going to argue with you about that. When you do this and you go, I'm going to read your mind and you
Yeah, yeah,
draw a
of course, no,
picture,
of
and
course.
then I go over there and
The,
draw a picture, obviously
there,
the implication is that you're psychic, right?
or there is an intention that I am using my mind, of course, right? There is an intention.
Right. But
I
using your
don't need
mind
to
in
be
what
naive.
way?
Yeah,
Using your mind
exactly.
in what way, right? In the
That's the
way that we
implication.
all
That's a
associate
mystery.
with being psychic.
Yeah, but that's a mystery. I'm not saying that I'm a psychic.
Yeah, no, you
I
don't
am.
have to. That's the point.
That's the point.
We already figured out that it's actually
Yeah,
more effective to make them believe you're a
exactly.
psychic when you don't say you're a psychic.
Exactly.
So
That's a mystery, right?
well, no, it's not a mystery because then they'll end up saying he's if they walk out saying he's psychic, it's not a mystery. It's not mysterious.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
But
if you do a
what is your
presentation,
yeah.
if you do a drawing duplication, right, for instance, and they think and you're not presenting as a magician, you're not saying if they're not in the mindset to have an open mind and say there are ways that I can be deceived that are being used in this moment or have been used in the rest of the show, then it's reasonable to assume that they're going to walk away with all of their cultural associations intact and say that's a psychic.
Yeah.
It's reasonable to
And that's
assume that, right?
yeah, and that's the important point that I mentioned to you like moments ago that I
Yeah.
can have an intention. I am using my mind in a special way to create this, right? But I can't force you to believe in nothing because I don't have that power. You have the ability to see what I am doing and see whatever you want. Some people say, that's beautiful. Thank you. Goodbye. I am going to eat. That's cool. I am not trying to change anyone's life. But if someone wants to change their paradigm in what they saw, that's not my point, right?
Okay. Yeah. No,
Don't
I
try to
understand what
convince
you're
you about
saying.
nothing.
I understand what you're saying, but actually, like in my show in Vegas, I think if I didn't address the problem, if I didn't address the issue, they actually would be changed. I am changing their lives and changing their beliefs because I am moving the needle like Darren would be moving the needle in the
Mm,
psychological direction.
yeah.
And so if your
So
goal is to not change people's lives, then if the implication is clearly that you're psychic or that using psychic ability, then that is in fact changing people's lives.
mm,
That's changing their beliefs. I actually don't want to change their beliefs. It would be great if they became more skeptical for seeing the show. But this is what I always encourage people to do, and I think that you're there, right? Because you're such a great performer. I think that you push your show to the point where unapologetically you are convincing people that your abilities are real. And then if you think it's a problem, then you can address that in a different way. But most people when they say most people don't need this kind of thing because most people when they say, "Oh, you need a disclaimer," I'm like, you're right. You don't need one.
exactly.
But
And if you need it, do it, right? That's the point. Everyone has their own audience, their own culture, their own way. The important thing is, okay, let's do something good, something that really contributes in a systemic way, ecological way, as you say, right? Because if I lie to other, I am damaging you and I am damaging me as well because I am believing in my lie. Now, is your lie, is my lie? I can't change you in the sense of convincing you that I am doing something or you or whatever, right? But the point is, I am acting from a center point of, in my experience, mystery. If someone wants to believe that I have psychic powers, that I am gifted, whatever, go for it. I don't care. Again, what do I
you wouldn't
do?
care if they did that.
No, I don't care
Let me
why.
ask this actually. This is a very straightforward question. If everyone reliably walked out of your show and then immediately got on their phone and purchased tickets to John Edwards, would you think that there's maybe something there to address? Or would you be like, I don't care?
It's not that I don't care because that sounds too harsh. Because I don't want to let others be deceived in the sense of being hustled or being with a charlatan. But I am no one to stop you. I am doing a performance,
Oh,
right?
I just mean if your performance, I'm just saying, like, okay, let's say we could just demonstrate, and we can't demonstrate this right now, but let's just assume, just so I can get a baseline of where you are. And again, no judgment on any of this stuff. Like I said, John Edwards might be making the world a better place. I have no idea, right?
Mm,
Um, but as a baseline, just for you, if it were the case that everyone walked out of your show and they were more likely to purchase a John Bridge ticket, or they were more likely to go to the psychic on the corner, or they were more likely to, let's just say they were more likely to uh, believe the next lie that someone tells them, would you
mm.
care? And the answer can be no, because you care about art more or whatever. That's fine. That's just not where I am.
If someone asks me, Pablo, I need to go to this place because what you saw in you is real, of course not. Don't go,
No,
right?
no. What I'm
But
so that's a different that's
yeah, but
related,
I
but not
can't
the
be
question.
responsible. I can't be responsible for the perspective of other. So it's not about
Right.
caring
Neither
or
can John
not caring.
Edwards.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not about caring or not caring about the other. Of course that I care, but if you want to decide that, it's your freedom.
Well, you can be responsible for what you do, and currently, as far as I understand, you don't do anything to address this problem, or you might not think the problem exists. So what I'm asking is, if you thought the problem existed, or actually, I gotta know first, would it actually be a problem for you if
Mm.
people did this?
Yeah,
Would that be a problem for you?
yeah, I can be responsible for what I do, but I can't be
I understand.
responsible
You have no
but what you
responsibility in any
hear.
of this. None at
No, no,
all.
no. My responsibility is to offer a sincere performance.
Okay,
That's my
yes, sure.
responsibility in what I do.
Sure, sure, sure.
But I can't be responsible of others' interpretation of what I do. That's different.
Yeah, no, I think actually, like, for instance, if I were to juggle instead of doing card tricks, then at the very least, people would interpret that I juggled and didn't do card tricks. So, on some level, yes, of course, you're responsible for what you do. I mean, if you talk in a very high pitched voice or a very
Yeah,
low
yeah, yeah.
voice, they're going to have a
I
different
said that.
interpretation.
I say that,
So,
but it's different the interpretation of what I do of what I do. There
well,
are
of course,
two.
but you're like that's what the whole conversation is about. I mean, to express the idea that there are different touch points where you can be honest with your audience and not have them walk away with extra pseudoscientific baggage. Uh, to the idea that there are ways to do that, you can't say that you're not responsible for how people interpret your show if the show is designed to look like psychic ability.
Yeah, but
Like that's you designing the show to look, and that's look, no judgment. Again, there's no judgment
yeah,
on
yeah,
this. I'm
yeah,
just
no, yeah,
saying,
of course,
if
yeah,
I
yeah.
my show is currently about ghosts, right? It's called Ghost Stories, and so if somebody said to me if everyone was walking out believing in ghosts, I could say like I am not responsible for that at all, and or more so, the needle moved because of the show, not because of beliefs they had beforehand. I
Mm.
could say, "Oh, I'm not responsible for that at all." And they would just say to me, "But you're the one that did the ghost show.
Yeah,
Of course you're
but it's a
responsible."
show. But it's a
Yeah,
show. If I
of
see a
course.
movie, I will believe what is that in the movie is what happens in the real
Oh, this is
daily
this is a
life. No,
this is
because
a
it's a movie.
this is a very common response, but I didn't think we'd have to go here. But basically, like, yes, of course, it's a show, and that's a good touch point. I like that it's a show. I like that there's a playbill, all that stuff.
Yeah,
In fact, I think that gives an opportunity, a good opportunity. Like, it's harder to
exactly.
disclaim in close-up mentalism at corporate events or whatever. That's harder.
Mm,
In a show, you have control of everything,
mm,
and so like. So you're more responsible than a show for what they think. Um,
mm,
but uh, but yeah, if I see someone juggling on stage, right? It's reasonable for me to assume that yes, while it was a show, while it was just entertainment, it is reasonable for me to assume that they can juggle off stage, correct?
mm. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, the whole show thing, it does a little work. It does something. It doesn't really get us out of the pickle here, out of the dilemma.
Mm,
And all I'm trying to establish is whether so it's reasonable for people to assume if they assume that what you're presenting is psychic ability and it's in a show,
mm. Yeah.
it would be reasonable, of course, for them to
Yeah,
assume
of
that you could
course.
do that
I can
anywhere.
do a reading, for example, for other person. That happens after a
Sure, sure,
show.
sure.
Someone can say, "Oh, do you know something from the future?" Sure, give me your hand.
Yeah.
And if I
So
give
I
you a
actually,
small,
yeah. So I mean, like, it might just be the case that you don't actually care.
mm,
Like, and if that's the case, that's totally fine. No judgment. We can all
mm,
still be friends.
mm,
Like, everything's cool.
mm,
But I'd like to know that if that is the case. And if it's not the case, or if you don't know yet, and these are like new thoughts, or you
mm,
haven't really thought about this, then, or don't care to think about it, that's something else.
yeah,
That's also
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
But if you have thought about it, I just want to know, like, if everyone left your show and said, that was a psychic, I now believe in psychics, and I didn't before, and I'm going to go and see John Edwards now, would that matter to you? Or would you just be like, damn,
Not
that's a good
really.
show?
No, no, no,
No.
not
Okay,
really. Yeah.
cool. Cool. All right, sweet. I definitely would matter to me because I do feel like I don't want to make hucksters and frauds
Yeah. Do you know the David Hoy
easier to
story?
victimize the people that have come to see me.
Yeah.
But
Do you know the David Hoy story about his claim at the beginning of his show?
no, I don't know it. No.
Yeah, he said, "Hello, I am David Hoy, and I'm a fake psychic." And then he did all his psychic stunts, and the end people believe in him as a psychic. So
That's
my
cool.
point is, my point is that from the point that I can be responsible what I do, but at the end of the day, disclaimers are not the ultimate trust for you that okay, now I am not I am teaching people that Edwards is a fake.
Oh, I don't
People
think so. I
will
don't
do
think they are.
whatever.
I don't think they are. Like I said, I don't think they're actually effective. But I have other ways of addressing the problem. But it's useless to go into those other ways if we don't think there's actually a problem. And
Mm,
while I think there's a problem for me personally, it seems like you don't think there's a problem for you, even in the extreme example when all of them immediately are believers and are giving their money to charlatans.
mm,
Like if that were the case for yours, you just said that that wouldn't be a problem for you and you wouldn't care. And that's fine. Honestly,
mm,
that's fine. Like, but that's the real opinion that I was going for.
mm. Yeah.
Um, if you think it would matter, then it would be interesting to talk about potential solutions
Exactly.
or
If
things
I
like
feel
that.
that matters, yeah. If I feel that matters, I will say at the end, there are some people that are liars. Be
Hmm.
careful. Sure, sure, but that's not the point of the show.
Yeah,
That's it
no,
for
I
me.
get it. I get it. If people see your show and then they are immediately more likely to be taken advantage of by hucksters, uh, that is not something that bothers you.
Yeah,
Right. Okay, cool. Dope. That's
yeah.
fine. I think that that clarifies a lot of things for me. But just out of I'm glad to get clear on it and just completely sincerely, Pablo Amira is still a badass mentalist performer who is an amazing, amazing, amazing show and
Yeah,
wonderful, prolific printed material.
yeah, thank
And I think if you think about that and that opinion changes, then let me know. If it doesn't, also totally cool. People should support your work and buy your stuff if they want to, and it's all really great stuff.
you. Thank you again. Lovely question, lovely kind of pushing backs. I love them, right? And if you ask me if you want to go to any show, don't go.
Wait, go to any show?
No, no, no. The guys that said that they're psychic and contacting the dead and all that.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Well, that's cool. That's cool. I appreciate at the very
I
least
care about
that.
you. I care
Oh,
about
you
you.
care about me? Okay, it's cool. I care about you too, man. I want you to be happy and wealthy and all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah, all the best for you.
but when's the next time you come to Vegas?
Not very soon. For all the situations in there, I prefer to keep a little bit of distance with. I had sadly to say no to some conference in the USA for all the agitations, but hopefully the political situation can be more calm, and I gladly will go there one more time. I love USA, my friends in there.
I hope so, man. We'd love to see you in Vegas, and we'd love to even maybe set up a show of some kind. That'd be
Of
amazing.
course, of course. Fantastic, Ken.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you, and I hope to
Bye
talk
bye.
to you again soon. And I'd love to maybe schedule a conversation where we can just straightforwardly talk about like theater and art and
Of
the
course.
stuff that's
Anytime.
ultimately more important to you.
Of course.
Awesome, man. You'd be a great person to
Fantastic,
talk
man.
to about that. So thank you, man. Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful day.
You too. Bye bye.